What do you say, everybody? It's Mick Gillespie. It's time for our Sunday night conversation. We're going to take your calls, and we appreciate all of you guys that are with us tonight to talk Alabama football. If you're watching on YouTube, thumbs up, say, hey, I appreciate the fact that you guys are hanging with us on a Sunday night. Subscribe to the Bama Insider YouTube channel. And for those of you that are listening, and maybe you're doing that on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts, give us a 5-star rating. Subscribe to the Bama Insider channel. I'm Mick Gillespie, and it is a pleasure to have you guys with us here tonight. We're going to talk Alabama football. Big win over Arkansas sets up for a showdown in the SEC championship game coming up on Saturday against the Florida Gators. You got Florida losing to LSU, but I guess the big news is that Gus Malzahn was fired by Auburn today. He's their head coach after a 6-4 season. I kind of felt like it was unfair. I mean, I think he's done a nice job, but the expectations are higher than what he was able to perform, getting to a national championship game, winning an SEC title, beating Alabama. That was not good enough. And so he was let go. So we're going to talk about the possibilities to replace him, the fact that he was fired, and all that stuff tonight on our show. We appreciate you guys as you call in tonight, 205-850-0883. And I'm going to go keep an eye on all of your chats. I appreciate those. Good to see Jay's in the house tonight. What's up, Jay? All you guys that are watching, roll Tide to you. I graduated from Alabama. I try to be objective, but look, man, I guess I say roll Tide to all you guys that are hanging tonight. Look, I think, JG, I think that Auburn's going to make a play for Steve Sarkisian. I did the Max and Mick podcast today with Coach Max Howe, and that's what he hit me with right off the bat, and I never even thought about it. And I see the list that is kind of floating around out there. You got Hugh Freeze, who is at Ole Miss and now at Liberty. His name's been hot in a lot of places. You got Lane Kiffin now with some people saying possibly him, which would be interesting. Billy Napier, who's at Louisiana, is a name, Cristobal with Oregon. And then, of course, Steve Sarkisian with Alabama. So the phone lines are open, and I'm going to go right to the phones and get things going. Roll Tide, where you calling from tonight? What you got going on? Who's this?
Oh, it's me, buddy. It's that boy from Selma, Alabama. Yeah.
What's up?
Nothing, man. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this SEC championship game. There's a lot of hoopla coming from the Florida fans since they lost to LSU. So it's kind of right now. Florida's looking like, I don't know. They're looking like somebody that's about to get beat Saturday. What you think?
Yeah, look, I was surprised that they weren't better prepared to play that game against LSU. I mean, the way that LSU got rolled by Alabama and Auburn this year, I thought Florida would handle their business. But what happened was they left LSU in the game, and they turned the football over. And when you turn around, all of a sudden you're like fourth quarter, you got a football game going, and you're saying, hey, these guys have a chance. But the bonehead play of the year is the shoe toss. I mean, because look, if the guy doesn't throw the shoe, LSU kicks the ball back, Trask goes down the field and scores. And not only does Florida beat LSU, but Trask all of a sudden becomes the big-time favorite to win the Heisman. All that changed in one mighty toss of a shoe.
Oh, and 2 interceptions.
Right. The interceptions, too. I mean, they were killing. Florida turning the ball over is the only reason why LSU was in the game. But I got to give LSU credit. I mean, as terrible as they are this year, to go in and win a game like that, that's a big signature win.
Oh, I gave them credit, too. I told all LSU fans, I'm glad y'all beat Florida. I hate Florida. I can't stand them. I mean, I knew they didn't have any implications of going to a playoff or nothing like that. They might go to a bowl game after this. We'll see. But the big thing that I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at progression from Alabama from from the second half of the Georgia game to now. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at our defense. Look at what our defense is. Held Arkansas to 3 points.
Yeah. Yeah.
3?
I know. And they scored 35 against Florida. I'm really just like amazed at how good this defense has played because, you talk about the way that college football is set up now. It's set up for the offense to have a lot of success and the defense to struggle.
Yeah.
The best athletes are on offense now on all these teams, but Alabama's gotten better. The secondary's played really well, but it's been the guys at the line of scrimmage that are making the difference. When Big Barrymore's in the background and the backfield, and these guys are breaking through and forcing these quarterbacks to have to hurry their throws. That's when Alabama really is able to take advantage with their defense.
All right, and another thing, you never look past a rival. I don't care what team it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's the Golden Bears against the Kitty Cats. You never look past a rival. Never.
Well, the thing about a team like LSU is that they've got athletes. I mean, they've got they got guys who are 4- and 5-star talent players. And they can do things. I mean, and we saw that. Florida looked past LSU, obviously. Who knows? Maybe they were, looking ahead on film or whatever, but they cost themselves, I think, a shot at the college football playoff because even if they beat Alabama, I don't think they're going to go.
They're not beating Alabama. It's no. I've said it all year long. I've said that Florida was overrated. I've called out Florida fans. I've told them what they're about. I told them they don't have no defense. I told them that, and I seen what they did to their offense last night. Come on. I mean, they fell up. They just self-imploded. That's what Florida did.
Yeah.
I mean, the first game I can understand with A&M. I thought maybe I'll give them a chance to see what happens, and then they lose to LSU, a team that we beat by 38 points. 38. Okay, come on, that's ridiculous. And then you lose by 3, and then your coach and then Mullins all on the phone, all on the interview talking about, well, you could tell he was sad, down, depressed, or whatever. I can understand that. You just lost to LSU, a 3-5 team that you gave life to. That's pretty much what they did. They gave life to a dying LSU team.
Yeah, it's a funny thing is that this game's going to really be kind of a showcase for the Heisman Trophy, but I'm starting to think that the showcase is going to be between Mac Jones and DeVonta Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, Trask could win it, though, too. I mean, look, if Trask has a huge game against Alabama, they win the game. That can all change in 1 week. But I'm telling you right now, it feels like it's going to come down to those two guys with Alabama.
Man, do you see – honestly, ask yourself, do you see Florida fixing their problems with a week to go after they lost to LSU and their team's already down as it is? Yeah, I know they're going to come in with their hair on fire and think they're going to do something, but Alabama's defense is too strong. Alabama's offense can score on anybody. Anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. They can go down the field and score and don't – look, Mac Jones didn't even get a touchdown in the Arkansas game.
Mm-hmm.
All the players did the job. Everybody did something. Mac Jones didn't have to do nothing. Hand the ball off once, twice. That's it.
Well, we got a whole week before Bama goes after another SEC championship. And this is the 10th time that Alabama and Florida have played for the title. I mean, this has been since they started this game in 1992. This has been the featured matchup. Alabama against Florida for the SEC championship. Tide holds a 5-4 advantage in these games. It's going to be really interesting to see how this thing goes down. I think Florida's going to have to find – they're going to find a lot of extra motivation after the way that they gave that game away to LSU. But, the way that Alabama's focused right now, the way that this team has been on a mission all year to win championships. These are championship games. You win these and, you win this one, you get a ring, right? You win the next one, you go to the championship game, you win that one, and you go down in history as right. You go down as one of the greatest teams in Alabama history. And Chris, you bring up a great point. LSU was down their best three corners and lost that football game. I don't know what to expect against Florida. I think they're going to play Alabama a lot tougher than they played against LSU. I think they're going to be focused a lot more on Alabama than they were LSU. But they're going to have to play their best game to beat Alabama. And, we'll see what happens on Saturday. I just feel like this Alabama team's on a mission.
It is on a mission. They're on a mission to win championships. Surtain said it. DeVonta Smith said it. Najee Harris said it. And Waddle said it before he got hurt. Yeah. That's four players right there that come back just to beat everybody and go for a national championship. Yep. That's what they came back for.
No doubt. Well, anything else before I get to the next call? And way to get us going tonight, by the way. Roll Tide.
No, I'm good, man. I tried to get that off my chest because, like I said, I was just tired of hearing all these Florida fans. So when we come to your house, when we come to the ATL, which is our house, by the way, prepare to lose. That's all. Florida, you can forget about everything else. Trask is not winning the Heisman. It's not happening. Our defense is going to stop him cold, and that's it. I ain't going to put no score up yet. I'll do that Friday.
Yeah, just hold on to that. Roll Tide, my friend. Great call.
I will. Roll Tide, brother.
That's how you get a show started. And we appreciate all you guys. I'm going to get to all these calls, by the way, so just hang in there with us. Alabama with a win, 52-3 over Arkansas. This is Bama Insider on our YouTube channel. So for everyone watching out there, hey, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, call in if you want to talk about Alabama, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida. But I guess the other thing right now is Gus Malzahn fired from Auburn, and Steve Sarkisian all of a sudden emerging as one of the 5 candidates to possibly go there. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think that would be a great move for him. But at the same time, there'd be a lot of money on the line if he did decide to go to coach Auburn. Not that he's underpaid right now. He's the highest paid offensive coach, or actually assistant coach in college football. All right, let's go back to the phone lines again. Who's this and where you calling from?
Yes. Hey, Mick, this is Jarvis calling from Texas.
Hey, what's up, Jarvis? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty well. Mick, I don't know where to start. I mean, yesterday provided so many takes that it's a lot to chew on.
Well, I mean, look, the three-headed attack that Alabama has right now. I mean, we want to talk about, who's better, Mac Jones or DeVonta or Najee. I'm going to tell you guys right now, and I'll tell you this too, Jarvis. The offensive line is making these guys right now. This offensive line is the best one I think Alabama's ever had. I mean, it's amazing what these guys are doing. And they're like umpires in baseball. When you have a great umpire, you never notice that the guy's back there. He just gets all the calls right. The offensive line is quietly mauling the opposition every week.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And one thing about this offensive line that goes underrated is that how intelligent they are. I mean, they all play smart. I mean, we're not penalized a lot. They don't get beat a lot. They keep Mac upright. So I think they're one of the most physical and most intelligent offensive lines of the Saban era, if you ask me.
Well, yeah. I mean, like they have gelled into what's going to eventually be an entire line of guys that are in the NFL. I mean, like the talent, like it's crazy to look at what we got right now where you're saying, okay, you know what? Like the quarterback, the running back, and the receiver are all guys who could win the biggest award that you give an individual in college football. But none of that happens if the offensive line isn't absolutely dominating.
That's true. And to kind of piggyback on that point, Mick, I kind of just have a tidbit about the LSU Florida game and about the Bama Florida game. And of course the Gus Malzahn, and then I'll definitely let you get back to the phones.
Yeah.
The funniest thing I think about the Gus Malzahn situation is literally last night after the game, there's a video of him dancing in the locker room with his team, just like Nick Saban did with Georgia, and then the next day he literally gets fired. So I know he did not see that coming. I know after he beat Mississippi State, he thought he was good, but they literally pulled the rug from under him, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah, $23 million, Jarvis. I mean, you could fire me from my job here if Kyle would pay me $23 million. I'd be dancing too. I don't think I don't think the guy's done a bad job. I mean, look, he's beat Alabama. He's been up there in recruiting. They contend for championships. It's Auburn, and I know that that's hard for some people to kind of understand. But it's not Alabama, and it's not LSU. It's Auburn. They're a step under the big time schools, but they have those years where they're as good as anybody out there. And I thought Gus Malzahn. I think that, and I'll say this too, kind of the other side of the coin on this is that we talked to our buddy Jay Tate from Auburn Sports. Before the game against Auburn, he was a guest on the Friday night show, the tailgate show. And he's like, Gus, he said, Gus lays a turd. And that turd this year was South Carolina. And we're not used to that anymore. When Mike Shula was coaching Alabama, you knew that there was going to come a game that you should win, that you weren't going to win. Because his team was not going to be prepared. He was not a great head coach. He was okay. He wasn't great. He wasn't the worst, kind of towards the bottom in my mind. Gus Malzahn is a lot better. But at the same time, when you lose those games to teams like this year's South Carolina team, Tennessee a few years ago that wasn't very good, that'll get you fired.
Yeah, I mean, great points. And I think what really doomed Gus for this season was that Texas A&M game. Even though Texas A&M was ranked higher, Auburn was in control for most of the game. And I think those fans really thought that they were going to win that game. And I think once he lost that game, after the pummeling by Alabama, that was just kind of the final straw, regardless how the rest of the season went for Auburn, in my opinion, that Texas A&M game.
Yeah, I could see that too. But I thought they played well. I don't know. I guess I just look at it and I say that Auburn's a good team this year. They're not a great team. They were competitive in that one. They got blown out by Alabama, something that I think hurts Gus as well. It seems like when they lose, they get their butts whooped. But man, I don't know. I'm so curious to see who they hire. And when Max House suggested that it could be Steve Sarkisian, I'm like, I don't like that one too much. Now let's not. No. You need to stay out of Tuscaloosa, Auburn.
Yes, and I think that Auburn job will be the hottest commodity job in a while. I think that a lot of people want to be in that area and have that recruiting access, and just have that kind of rapport with Saban. So I think that will be a highly coveted job, and like you said, it will be interesting to see what happens. And I just have one more point, Mick, and I'll definitely let you get back to the call.
Yeah.
I think the funniest thing about Florida this year is that if you look at it, their two losses literally both came by teams that we beat by 28 points or more the week before. Texas A&M by 28, they turn around and lose by 3. And then LSU we beat by 38, and they turn around and lose by 3 again to both of those teams. So I think that's a funny stat as well. Also, I saw that Alabama this year was the first SEC team with 5 50-point games in a regular season. So, I mean, what a time to be a Bama fan. Number one in the field, number one in recruiting. Going to bring home the Heisman between Mac or DeVonta. So it's just it's a great time to be a Bama fan. So that's all I can say, Nick.
Great call, Jarvis. Roll Tide, man.
Roll Tide, you too.
And I agree. Look, I agree with Jarvis. It is a great time to be an Alabama fan. I mean, Kyle doesn't even know what it's like to be around Alabama when they weren't winning every game. I'm telling him about the days where we couldn't beat Auburn. We lost to Tommy Tuberville. We lost to LSU. Alabama couldn't beat Tennessee. They lost the bowl games. They didn't make the bowl games. They didn't get the recruits. We all sat on the edge of our seats because Mike Shula thought he was going to get Tim Tebow to come to Tuscaloosa. He was never going to get Tim Tebow. I don't care how many times Tim Tebow made him think he was coming. The guy had like Florida Gator Christmas ornaments, and then Nick Saban comes to town. And all of a sudden, all that stuff changes. And, Alabama's been this mega program. And it is a great time to be here. I mean, it might never happen again. I mean, we've never seen this kind of dominance from a program. 13 straight years where, Alabama's been number one. 205-850-0883. Want to hear from you guys. And one of our great callers is Jarek from Buffalo. Jarek, man, what's up? Thanks for calling in.
Man, nothing much, man. Mick, I'm just gonna piggyback off you real quick, man. I remember watching Alabama. My first Bama game that I ever watched, I was 7 years old. But this was back in 2005 when they played against Tennessee, and I remember watching that game. I wasn't a huge fan of college football. I was always a huge Bills fan. But I was never a huge college football fan. I remember watching Alabama beating Tennessee, and I'm like, wow, this is such a dominant team. It was a defensive gridiron, but I mean that defense was unreal. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is. I like this team. I like the Crimson. This is going to be the next national champions. And then the next 2 years, it was like watching the Buffalo Bills all over again with J.P. Lawson. And it was horrible it was in 06 and 07. But yeah, man. I mean, who would have ever expected after what you saw from Mike Shula, and then of course Nick Saban coming in his first year, that Alabama was going to win 5 national titles, 7 national championship appearances, numerous amount of divisional and SEC titles, and #1 recruiting classes. I mean, no one would have expected that. No one would have expected another Bear Bryant. I mean, that was like maybe a once in 100 years in getting a coach, and then all of a sudden we're in an era now. We're in the modern era of Bear Bryant. If not a more polished, better version of Bear Bryant. I mean, Nick Saban can go on and be elite until he retires. I mean, I can literally see this for another 5 to 7 years when Nick Saban's in his mid 70s. It is amazing to kind of see where this program is, and looking at that Florida game, Alabama's not messing that up. I mean, they've won 98 straight games against unranked opponents. 98 games against unranked opponents. Nick Saban has never lost to an unranked opponent ever since his time here in being Alabama. So that should just tell you right there what type of program Nick Saban has built.
Yeah. Well, I was at the game. It's funny you bring up that 05 or 06 Alabama Tennessee game. I still think that was, I think it was 05. You're right. But anyway, I think that was one of the greatest games I've ever been at as far as just crowd noise and enthusiasm. I mean, the game was a 6-3 final, right? And I see Roman Harper now, he's like on the SEC network, like he's an analyst. Mm-hmm. But in that game, Tennessee was going in for what would have been the game-winning touchdown at the end of the fourth quarter. And Roman Harper like jarred the football loose. I forget the guy's first name, but his last name was Anderson for Tennessee, their fullback. He fumbled through the end zone, and then Christensen hit the field goal to give Alabama the lead. And it was like the offense wasn't good, but there was like one big pass down the sideline in that game. I've never heard the stadium louder, and it was because Tennessee had beaten Alabama so much. And Philip Fulmer, was accused of turning Alabama in for cheating, and people were angry at him. And the thing that kind of just as a fan that day, and I look, Philip Fulmer's he's a coaching Hall of Famer, right? I mean, like that was kind of when things started to really turn around for Alabama in that series. But the strip was under construction, and I went to the Houndstooth. The bar, the old Houndstooth, after the game, and some guy had this. I'll never forget it. He had this giant, like this person on a stick, like that he had made at the print shop, and it was a man sitting on the toilet, and then he had Philip Fulmer's head on there. And Tennessee's buses were coming up the strip, and the construction had them stopped, even with the police escort. And I'll never forget looking at this guy and everybody realizing that there's Coach Fulmer and there's Tennessee's buses, and they were stopped right in front of the Houndstooth, right on the strip, and this guy running over and waving that big stick at Phil Fulmer, and Phil Fulmer kind of just looking over and just like, I'm getting out of here, and they got him out of here. But it was almost like I was in a movie at that moment. And then you go back to like that win, and then you're right. I mean, after that, Alabama stunk again. Like they went into losing, and then since Nick Saban's been at Alabama, it's like it's just been unprecedented to see the string of success that this program is having right now. And Tennessee's really not even a rival anymore because Alabama's dominated them so much. But it's what you hit on is such an accurate point, is that since that first year, Nick Saban and Alabama have not lost to teams like LSU that are unranked. They beat all the ranked teams, and when Alabama's gotten beaten, the teams that have won the football games against them, the LSUs and the Auburns, the years that they've beaten Alabama, even that South Carolina team that beat Alabama in 2010, they've either had the best game of the season or they have just been really good teams and beat Alabama. It's not like Alabama's giving games away.
Yeah, they were all good teams. I mean, so I think South Carolina was like the lowest team with like 9 wins. I think like everyone else has been, they've gone ahead and won Sugar Bowls, or they've gone ahead and had 10, 11, 12 game winning seasons. So yeah, Bama has not lost to any scrubs. They've all been really good football teams. Now we've almost lost to some good teams like, Tennessee back in 2009, thanks to the Cody block. And then you look at the, I think the closest, the Ole Miss game for this year, it was 48 to 63, and it was, and you take away Lane Kiffin not going for it on 4th down, and the botched snap, which ended up Ole Miss settling for a punt. Who knows? Ole Miss could potentially won that game. So we've had some close shares with bad teams, but it's either been very, very early on when Bama's still trying to find his stride, or it's just that team played their best game. It's not even that we took off; it's just that they played to their heart's content.
Right.
They really did. And they, in Alabama, they have to make like 100 different mistakes. It just has to be an Alabama bad day.
Yeah.
In order for them to almost lose that football game. But, just going back to Florida real quick, man, about Marco Wilson throwing his shoe. That is the stuff right there that makes you appreciate Nick Saban and this Alabama coaching staff. We get on Pete Golding and we get on a lot of these coaches. We've gone on some of the past coaches, right, the Tosh LaPoise when he was here, the Bakers of the world. But then you have to kind of have to realize and see players throwing shoes on the football field and saying, you know what, as critical as we've been on these coaches recently, at least we will never see that happen where that literally cost them the playoffs. Literally cost them the playoffs. Now, they probably they should have went to overtime, and who knows? Florida looked like they had all the momentum in the world, and they probably would have got out and won that game. And quite frankly, I would love Florida to win that game so Alabama could end their playoff hopes. But for him to just throw a shoe, to throw a cleat 20 yards down what gives you the what were you thinking? I don't like talking about kids like that, but when you take someone's shoes off and throw it 20 yards down the football field, it's just why? It's why.
What do you think was worse, that the shoe toss last night, or the player in the Egg Bowl last year that acted like a dog and tried to pee on the pylon?
Oh man!
What?
Elijah Moore. Oh.
It's like which one of those is worse?
Oh my goodness! You know what? I'm going to say Elijah Moore, because go back to, I think, a couple years prior, DK Metcalf did the same celebration, and I think Ole Miss actually lost the game because of that celebration.
Right.
So and then 2 years later you do the same thing. I guarantee you they went over that in practice. They did the same thing that DK Metcalf did, and it ended up costing them. And the funny part is they're both really good receivers, as we all know with DK Metcalf. Elijah Moore could very well end up being a really good receiver in the NFL too. So yeah, I would say that was worse. That was worse in my opinion, because it happened before, and now you're literally repeating the same thing over again. But yeah, this one is equally as bad. You can make an argument that this one's worse because this literally is a playoff crusher. Yeah. Ole Miss wasn't getting into the playoffs. That's literally crushing your playoff hopes. And I know Mullen is sick to his stomach. I know those players are sick to his stomach. I know the players. It's funny, if you actually go back, as soon as he tried to throw the shoe, you actually had one player that tried to deflect. He tried to deflect the shoe. He saw it happening, and he actually tried to rush in and stop him from throwing the shoe.
Right.
And as soon as he did it, he punched Marco Wilson right in the face. So, it's just, it's crazy to me. Like I said, I understand you're in the heat of the moment. You feel like you've made a play, but you cannot be throwing cleats, man. You cannot be doing that.
Well, here's what I think. Like the Egg Bowl, that ended up costing the Egg Bowl to Ole Miss last year. But it was two really bad teams. I mean, like, who cares? You know, like, I mean, and I say that, and I'm not on the team, and I know that I've got some buddies that love Mississippi State and Ole Miss. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was a penalty, and the guy came back and kicked the ball, missed, and so it's on the kicker too, right? The problem with this is that Florida was going to win that game. As soon as Kyle Trask got the football back, they were going to cut up LSU, go straight down the field, score, and win the game. I mean, like, Trask would have been the toast of the town today, talking about the Heisman. I mean, he probably had 500 yards passing and with the game-winning score, and that would have been that. And we'd be talking about Alabama and Florida would be like, hey, you know what? We probably need to be a little more serious and be focused, whatever. Like, it's just – when Nick Saban took over the Alabama program, and I talked about like that first year, that 2007 season, I remember being at the games, and the receivers used to do this thing where they would run down the field, and I remember one of the guys was Keith Brown. I don't remember who the other receiver was, but they used to run and taunt the opposing team's student section, and you could see Nick Saban on the sideline. That used to get his blood boiling. He hated that so much. And it
Wasn't
was
it DJ Hall?
Yeah, DJ Hall. You're right. And
yeah.
They would do that, and then you could see him, just kind of like, hey, that's not what we do. And then 2008, you saw less of that stuff. 2009, they win every game, and they win a national championship. And from there, it's like this. At Alabama, it's like you Nick Saban really pushes these guys to mentally win as much as physically win. I thought it was funny, and you guys probably saw this too, that when the sideline girl interviewed Nick Saban after the game, and she's like, I know that was one of your goals to win 10 games this year in the SEC, and then as nice as Nick Saban can be on something like that, he's like, that was not one of our goals, and it's like, the results aren't the goal. It's the process. It's doing things the right way. It's being prepared. It's, not throwing a shoe in that situation. It's, all of the things that it takes to be a great teammate and to go into the game with, the expectations that you're going to do your very best and you're going to take care of your job. Like, she didn't mean anything by it, but she just didn't understand. Like, it's the goal isn't to win every game. The goal is to be prepared and do your best every game. And the results are kind of the result of doing everything the right way. And you can tell when you watch other programs like Florida, where you got a player that would pick up a shoe and chuck it like you were out on a rec field playing. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we used to do in the neighborhood. I mean, if someone's shoe came off, a guy might like toss it up in a tree or something. I mean, like, and it'd be funny. In this case, Florida just cost themselves a legitimate shot to get into even if they beat Alabama, they don't have a shot to get into the college football playoff anymore because of that.
I mean, unless they like win by like 40 or 50 points, they're not getting in. They're not the playoff committee. They have let us know that Ohio State's getting in. They win their game, they're getting in. They're getting in. Even if Clemson loses to Notre Dame again, I feel like there's going to be someone else that's going to jump them. Florida's not getting in, even if they do beat Alabama. That is not happening. But you know what, Mick?
What's that?
If they would have started the Kyle Pitts instead of sitting him out for the Alabama football game, who knows? The result could have changed because Kyle Pitts, when you miss a red zone target like that, Florida struggled in the red zone.
Right.
Florida struggled in the red zone, and they're like, well, what if Kyle Pitts was there? If Kyle Pitts was there, Pitts was right there. Guess what? There's a bunch of mismatches that you can have, that you can throw him. You can use him in the seam. You can throw a fade to him, and he'll go up and get those passes. So you miss him, but it's like even without Kyle Pitts, look at the LSU. Eric Gilbert opted out. That's their best receiver. He opted out for the season. Terrence Marshall opted out. Ingram was hurt. I mean, they were down to their third string running back. They started a second string quarterback who was a true freshman, and Max Johnson, who never started a game at LSU before in his life. I mean, Florida, and then that defense, Mick. That defense has always played like this. I mean, I don't know if they really took off, because if you go back and look at their games, that's how their defense always plays. They're undisciplined. The back end of their secondary, they look like Alabama for like the first 3 weeks of the season. Just miscommunication. We don't know whether if it's zone concepts or man concepts. They just can't really stay in their assignments. It seems like they don't understand at all what's going on. It's that floor. I mean, besides their offense, which is more of an air raid style type of offense, that defense has looked pathetic. It's looked pathetic. And when you got guys like Kayshon Boutte, who's the fourth string receiver, have over just absolutely torch up your defense like that, especially going against the best corner in your team, Mr. Shoe himself, Marco Wilson. And then you look at guys like Kirkland and Coy Moore and those guys, just absolutely just destroying your defense. That's you don't deserve to get in.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, like I feel the same way. I just kept watching and I'm going, okay, this is the moment where, Florida turns it on and puts these guys away. This is the moment where they, and then I saw that play with the shoe and I see the officials kind of all meeting and I'm going, okay, what do we got going on here? Like what is this? And then in the blink of an eye, like, they gave LSU life and, like it's still astonishing to me. But I got to say this too, like this is what makes college football great. I mean, this is why I don't want to have like a 16-team playoff. These games count, man. Like you lose this game, it's counting against you. Like you just lost a game that is, almost like a playoff game. It's a playing game. Like you got to keep winning, whether it's like game 2 or game 10, like in the NFL, games don't matter as much. You get into the playoffs, like they take like half the teams get in, or whatever. In college football, you got to be prepared every week. And if you're LSU, like you got an opportunity to make your season a lot better. They did. That win for them, I think, changes their season enormously. Enormously. Like, because now, as embarrassing as they were last week, they just got a signature win. And that's a great win. I mean, like, I hate to say it, but that's the type of win that helps you in recruiting. Look at Tennessee right now with all their recruits jumping ship and going to other programs. Like LSU needed a win like that. Florida absolutely overlooked them. But every single game matters when you play college football, and I appreciate the super chat. And I'm telling you, like every game matters in college football. That's why we love it so much. That's why, look, we're talking about Alabama and Arkansas, and Alabama and Auburn. And it doesn't matter what year it is, Alabama and whoever, and Florida and LSU, because all these games count if you're trying to compete for a championship. And college football has the best regular season out there.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. And I'm just gonna make a last point. I know I'm holding you up a little bit, but Florida has lost to 2 teams that they overlooked. They lost to 2 teams that they were favorites and that they were a 10 point favorite according to the spread. They lost to both those teams. So even if they beat Alabama in that way, they don't have the strength of schedule. They do not have the strength of record to overtop Alabama. And quite frankly, I would not blame Alabama at all. Well, it's not going to happen, but I wouldn't blame Nick Saban at all. So you know what? I like what Ohio State's doing, just resting, and they have 3 canceled games, and they get to be the freshest team because they're going to crush Northwestern, but they're going to be the freshest team to go to the college football playoff. We just lost Christian Harris for we don't know how long. Well, how about we just put the second string in there? How about we just, since the Florida Gators, since you would be overlooking opponents so badly, how about we just rest our starters, honestly? But, of course, that will never happen. But, it's just crazy to me. It's just crazy to me. I do agree. This is what makes college football so special. I do hate the fact, though, that, you have teams like Coastal Carolina who's 11-0 and that they're going to go against the team that destroyed the best team in the Big 12 in Louisiana Lafayette, and Coastal Carolina is not even going to have an opportunity. And and Cincinnati's not going to have an opportunity, and even Iowa State. I mean, Iowa State and Oklahoma, those teams have played really, really good football so far. So yeah, USC. If USC goes undefeated, they're not even going to have a chance to get into the college playoff. So yeah, I mean, besides the way that the format is right now, and I understand it's a strange year, I think this has been one of the best years I think I've seen for college football. I would love for this to be a conference format. I think just by playing in conferences only, we really get to see who truly are the best teams in college football right now. And even though, a lot of people are probably going to forget this Alabama team if they do end up winning a national title and they have an undefeated record, surely we won't, because if they win the national title, this is going to go down as one of this is probably going to be the best Nick Saban coach football team we have ever seen. Because how do you go from having one of the worst defenses in college football to having a backup quarterback who was the third string quarterback who no one ever expected to be a Heisman Trophy contender, to losing Jalen Waddle, arguably the best receiver on your football team or the most explosive player on your football team, and you end up the first team to go 10-0 in the SEC. No one's ever done it, and no one will ever do it. And then you end up going to the college football playoffs, and you beat whoever's there. You win the national title, and it's just this will be this is an amazing year so far. That's just all I have to say for that.
Well, Jared, great call, man, and I agree. Look, I think that you're exactly right. I mean, that this Alabama team, they have 3 more games to win. They got to win in Atlanta, and then they got to win in the college football playoff twice, and they'll be undefeated. But just it's more than just the wins and losses. It's more than just Mac Jones and DeVonta Smith and Najee Harris. It's the offensive line. The offensive line with this defense that's come together, but this offensive line is the stuff of legends. They're so good, and we don't pay attention as much as we probably should because of the fact that, look, I mean, it's it's an offensive line. They're quiet, They just go out there and maul everybody over, and all you see are running backs just breaking into the secondary and receivers catching the ball, and Mac Jones having all day to throw the football. But you know what? That's kind of what makes this team special. Let's go back to the phones again. And who is this? Where you calling from?
It's Kid from Brooklyn.
Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing? All is well. I'm a little upset right now. I just watched my 49ers get their butt whooped. So I'm a little down, but I'm happy it's SEC Championship week. So we got a victory coming. So
I haven't paid attention to the NFL, but I'm a Raven, so I'll be watching, I guess, tomorrow night. You got a lot to be happy about though with Alabama right now.
I'm ecstatic about Bama. That's first and foremost. I want to give a shout out to Jalen Moody. He came in for Christian Harris last night, number 42. He played a hell of a game. He's really underrated. I'm surprised Saban doesn't rotate both his middle linebackers, Moses and Christian Harris, because we got some depth at linebacker, especially middle linebacker. But they played well. I mean, that was a blowout. It was expected. Bama shouldn't be playing bums so early in the morning. I don't know what it is. Why do we always play Arkansas so early, especially when we go to Arkansas? We play them so early in the morning. Bama shouldn't be playing bums that early in the morning.
Well, the good thing is that we don't have to worry about any more of the 11 o'clock games. We're on with our radio show on Saturday. We come on a station that plays Auburn games, and so if Auburn's up early, it messes up our schedule. And they put the games that people aren't really paying attention to early. You have to play a certain amount of those early games, but Alabama would be in prime time every week if it was up to the TV stations. They slot you in there. The best part about playing the 11 o'clock game is that you get it over with early, and it's done. And for us, for Alabama, hey, look, you know what? Take care of business, and now start to focus on Florida and winning this championship. I mean, that's the good thing about it. But it's far from prime time at 11 a.m. I'll tell you that.
Yes, sir. I mean, that game coming up this week, God willing. I mean, the race for Heisman is over. You already saw Trask lost it last night when he played LSU, and threw those two interceptions. He didn't play a great game. And Dan Mullen, he has some nerve to say, "Oh, we lose this game, or if we beat Bama." It's going to be a lot tougher to beat Bama than you think it is. You think just because you lose to LSU and you beat Bama, you have some place in the college football playoffs. No way, Jose. Bama's still making the college football playoffs with one loss. We're the best team in the country, hands down. We played 10 game. We played a 10-game schedule, so there's no conference or any team that can say they ran their table in their conference. Ohio State doesn't count. They only play 6 games, and they shouldn't even be in the top 4 because they're not a top 4 team in my eyes. And I know for sure next week we're going to treat them like it's 2016 when we put a spanking on them. I don't think Dan Mullen understands this is not your mediocre team. It's not a mediocre team, and our defense is answering. One thing with Dylan Moses, it looked like he's playing on one leg again. Which, like I said before, if we rotate those middle linebackers, I think we got some hungry guys at that middle linebacker position. I want to see that competition next year.
Yeah, well, I mean, and we're not sure what the situation is with Harris, but Nick Saban said that there's a chance he could play. Alabama didn't miss a beat though, and that's a good thing because last year that linebacker spot was just such a hole for Alabama because of all the injuries before the season started.
True, but I think last year was more so about a recruiter standpoint because we had guys in the rotation, but I think Saban just went ahead and said, okay, let's throw the freshmen in there, get our recruiting numbers up because, when you throw in freshmen and they're both starting middle linebackers, last season was just, we knew our difficulties and we knew that, okay, we weren't as good as we were previously. And I know that loss to LSU was a downer because I didn't think we were going to lose to LSU. We didn't deserve to lose to LSU, but I mean, I think from that standpoint, the Saban said we're gonna, in order for us to improve our numbers and recruiting wise, why don't we just throw Shane Lee, Christian Harris in there? I mean, we look good as recruiting freshmen, But now we got some guys that back there with experience. Christian Harris is playing well. We got Shane Lee. We got Ali Cahill that I really want to see play. We got Jalen Moody. We got Josh McMillan. We got Des Moines Kennedy. So we got a lot of guys. I mean, the numbers just keep adding, but. My focus is right now because their wide receiver group and that tight end group from Florida, they do something special with them, and I just want to see our guys in the secondary step up for that game. Daniel Wright, he is going to have to think the right way. He's going to have to play smart. He's got to understand his keys. Jalen Badler's got to keep doing what he's doing. Malachi Moore, please, you're gonna be an outstanding player. It's just like a little Minka Fitzpatrick. I see it in his eyes. He's hungry. He wants to play. I'm going to compare him from now on to Minka Fitzpatrick because the last time we've seen a star play on the defense play like that was Minka Fitzpatrick, and you see where he's at in the NFL, and he's doing numbers as well. Patrick Surtain, keep doing lockdown defense, but this week you're going to get challenged, and I want you to step up, and that's the key right there. If he can step up and shut down that right side or the left side that he plays on, I mean, they're going to go to Josh Jobe, and he's going to shut down his side, and they're just going to be throwing the ball because they don't have a running game. Florida's running game is struggling. And Dan Mullen is going to want to throw the ball. So we're going to have to shore up our secondary. If Daniel Wright could play the right way, or you bring in DeMarco Helms, if he's playing better than Wright, I don't mind taking Daniel Wright out and playing DeMarco Helms because he lays the boom. He comes down remember Landon Collins?
Yeah, great player.
Everybody remember Landon. Great player. Malcolm Helms comes down from that safety position like Landon Collins. He reminds me a lot of Landon Collins. Our front four. I said last week with Kyle, or I don't know if it was with you, Mick. I said last week that front four with the rotation of Christian Barmore and Tim Smith. I think that should be our 2 key starting D tackles because those 2 come flying off the ball without hesitation, and the twisting and the stunts that they run up there up the front row with Will Anderson. My goodness, Will Anderson deserves a lot of credit. A lot of credit. The way he plays as a true freshman, too.
Yeah. Well, look, the reason why the defense has gotten better is because, they weren't pressuring the quarterback, even as far down as Tennessee. They didn't get much pressure on the quarterback, even in that Tennessee game. All of a sudden, they're starting to break through and disrupt the quarterbacks. And it becomes very difficult to beat Alabama if you are on the run at the quarterback spot. You're trying to chase points, and these guys are relentless, and Alabama also has a pretty deep rotation.
Yep, especially up the front four. I love the rotation. Freddie Roach has done a good job. We're playing better than we played last year. I don't even remember the D-line coach last year's name. He came and went so fast, it's like a feather. You know how you pick up a feather off the ground and you blow it and it's gone? That's how that last defensive line coach came. He came and went, and we ain't seen him again, and we're happy about that because Freddie Roach came in, and he's doing a wonderful job. I think Pete Golden has understood to make things simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think he and Saban had to sit down and really, you guys, you know, when Saban chews you out, you get to listening. I guess Saban chewed him out, and he's listening because he simplified the defense, and it's making it so much better. On the aspect of the offense, Sarkisian, you're not going to Auburn. If you go to the team in orange and blue, man, we're going to have a huge problem. I'm not going to like it at all. I don't even think he's on the short list he's going to be here for another year or two.
Right. Well, he's also a candidate for Arizona, from what I'm hearing too. That's a lot easier for me to swallow than going down to Auburn.
Yeah, you go down to Auburn. Yeah, I'm not happy.
You go to Auburn and you're dead to me, right? Isn't that the way they say it?
That's how it is. You go to the team what's his name? The team, the coach from the Orange. You go there, you're dead to me as well. Whatever his name is. The one that's going to get fired by Tennessee.
Right. Pruitt, yeah.
He's going to get fired soon, because he went and chose to go to the team in the Orange, knowing that Saban taught you well. And you know it's not going to Saban's philosophy is not going to work on the team in the Orange.
Yeah, no doubt.
Nor is it going to work on the team below us, you know. And then, I mean, you know, but for now, our offense is playing spectacular. I would love to see if Brian Robinson can get a little more touches. I mean, I think we run Najee too much. I mean, are they trying to force Brian Robinson to come back next season? We don't know.
Right.
But he actually comes in and he's hungry too. He wants the ball. I mean, our offensive line. I'm telling you right now, if our whole offense, if we don't win the Heisman, we don't win the best offensive line award. We don't win the Benerick. We don't win. If we don't win these awards, I'm gonna say that college football is based on favoritism. And as of right now, we have the best offensive line. We got the best quarterback in the whole country. And we got the best wide receiver in the whole country. So I don't understand how these awards are even up for dispute right now.
Right.
We deserve them all.
Yeah.
We're 10-0.
Yeah.
We ran out the hardest conference in the league. We ran in the whole country is SEC.
One more though. Gotta win one more. You know, I mean, like you got to win Saturday to just put a bow on this thing.
Yes. Yeah, and if we win it in fashionable style like we always do, with like a 30-point spread, and we blow them out the park, there's no debate. There's no debate who the best team in the country is, and there's no way. Dan Mullen doesn't. I don't know if he remembers his time with Mississippi State. If you think you're gonna play the same way you played in Mississippi State, and then you bring it to Florida, and you think you have a chance against Bama because you're on the East now and you're not in the West, you're not gonna win. Throwing the ball 100 times is not going to get you a W.
Right. That's where they're going to be in trouble. Well, great call. Anything else before we go to the next caller?
Yeah, I'd just like to wrap it up. I'd like to say, God bless America. God bless this country. God bless Alabama football. God bless Nick Saban. God bless me. God bless you. God bless all the Crimson Tide fan. And Roll Tide. SEC championship, here we come. Along with the college football championship, here we come. Roll Tide.
Hey, Roll Tide, man. God bless you too, man. Thanks for calling in. And I'll tell you what, we are fortunate to live in this country, man. I'm with them on that one. Love America. Let's go back to the phone lines again. And let me remind you guys this too, as we do the show, thumbs up. If you like the show, subscribe to the Bama Insider channel. We're going to be on tomorrow. We got Tuesday, Wednesdays, our all-day recruiting show. We got so much going on. And we appreciate all you guys being a part of our program. Alabama looking to match up against Florida. Robert from Mobile's on the phone. Roll Tide, man. How you doing?
Hey, man. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Well, you know, I got after that fiasco for Florida yesterday. I got to actually one question: who you think is going to win the Heisman, DeVonta or Mac Jones?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could give it to the offensive line, really. I mean, but I personally, if I had a vote, I'd go DeVonta Smith first.
Yeah, I mean, it's he just makes plays. He's always the best player on the field every time he hits the field. I disagree with Jared from Buffalo on one thing. He thinks he said that Florida overlooks the two teams they lost to. I don't think they overlooked them at all. They're just not as good as they're just not significantly better than the two teams than Texas A&M or LSU.
Right.
Alabama beat both those teams by 3 touchdowns. And Florida was a 23-point spread with according to Las Vegas. Florida's just not a 3 touchdown better team than LSU or Texas A&M. I kept hearing a lot of people say, right now Florida is better than Texas A&M. When they were Florida the last several weeks, that if they played again, Florida would win the game. I don't think Florida. I don't know where they get that confidence that Florida was going to win that game again if they played Texas A&M. And the same with LSU. Florida is not a 3 touchdowns or a 3 score really better than Texas A&M or LSU.
Right.
Alabama is, but Florida is not. So they didn't overlook them. They're just not significantly better than them as Alabama is. So it is what it is. The game is it played out, and this primarily comes to their defense. Florida's defense just cannot shut teams down the way Alabama defense right now can.
Right,
and that's the big difference.
Yeah, look, I get you. I mean, like the Bama defense is what's different between them and the rest of the teams that are in the top 5 right now. We don't know about Ohio State because, quite frankly, they haven't played football. I mean, they may be great. I mean, but they're off more than they're on, and they were up 35-7 playing Indiana, and then all of a sudden, like it was a 7-point game. So they gave up 28 points in the blink of an eye. So and I don't know, Indiana's decent, but I don't think they've got an offense like Alabama's. And that tells me that Ohio State's defense has some issues. So they're the wild card to me, just because they don't really have a body of work to look at. And quite frankly, I don't feel like they deserve to be in this, but they're going to be there because of their reputation. They're supposed to be good. But when you go through the season and you play teams, just like Florida found out on Saturday, you can lose. You lose games sometimes. And that's why you play the game, and that's why they're getting a free pass to the championship game or to the championship game in their own league that set up rules. And then when they're not in it, those rules get changed, of course, which if it was Indiana that had the better record and Ohio State was the one that was set to go into the college football playoff, you cannot tell me that the league would have changed the rules to get Indiana in over Ohio State. If I was Indiana, I wouldn't be happy. That's just the way it is. They're going to beat Northwestern, and they're going to be in there. The rest of them, I mean, look, Florida doesn't have a good defense. We saw that. Notre Dame and Clemson don't have good defenses. They're okay. Bama does.
Exactly. And wouldn't you think Florida be sitting with 2 losses if they had Ohio State schedule? No, they wouldn't be.
Yeah,
they would have ran that Ohio State schedule just like Ohio State ran that schedule.
Yeah.
LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M,
yep.
all would have ran Ohio State schedule and clean the clock on it. But with Ohio State's being allowed to get a pass with that, I don't even call it a cupcake. It's a pancake schedule. That schedule is doesn't even qualify as cupcake. It's just flat as can be.
Yeah.
But they're allowed to because, like I said, because of reputation all along. Which again, that'd be another notch on Alabama's revenge tour. So, hey, come in and take your medicine like everybody else. I see this SEC championship game. Again, it's going to be, I think Alabama's going to be like a 21-point favorite in it. And then I look for them to cover. And the guy you mentioned also. I mentioned the greatness of Nick Saban. He did say that Nick Saban did lose to one unranked team. And I'm sure if it's so long ago, I can understand why people don't remember it. It was Louisiana Monroe in his first season at Alabama.
Yeah, I was there.
That was the last time.
I was there. Yeah, it was. It was I was in the box. I was in a box watching that game and at the stadium. It was shocking. It really was. But you know, remember he was dealing with a lot of the stuff like you see the guy throw the shoe, and he was dealing with a lot of stuff on and off the field where there was a lot of selfishness in the program. Part of that was that some players decided to sell their textbooks that they were given to by the university. They weren't allowed to sell them. They sold them and got in trouble and got, and were suspended. And so he didn't have those guys. And that really hurt Alabama because that team didn't have a lot of depth. You don't see any of that stuff anymore, and it was a good learning experience for those kids. But it was also the culture that he inherited at Alabama, that this just isn't there anymore.
Exactly, but again, that's a testament to him. I mean, it's not easy to go to not lose for like almost 100 games or whatever that he hasn't lost to unranked. He lost to the last unranked team. You know how hard it is not to lose even unranked team. You're talking about unranked LSU, unranked Auburn, unranked Texas A&M. We're talking about those kinds of unranked teams, not unranked Louisiana Monroe or Coastal Carolina or unranked Citadel. Right. We're talking about not losing to those unranked teams. And that's what other, big time schools have a problem with. Sometimes some of their Power 5 teams will have a bad season and get unranked, but they can beat you that day. That's how his ability to keep the team that focused to not lose to team to put away teams you should put away is just phenomenal. What it takes to beat him is just your quarterback got to play out of their mind that day, and you better bring some horses or you're not beating him.
Yeah.
you might make it interesting for a few quarters, but you're not beating him.
It's amazing. I mean, really, when you look at it, and I kind of went on this tangent earlier, and I stand by it. I think the reason why the college football season is so special is because the regular season is a playoff. You got to win all these games. You got to hang in there and win these games because the LSU Florida game means something. In the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, like all these other sports, the regular season's just another, it's okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to rest my starters and the NBA, they don't even, some of the best players that they purposely sit out and don't play, certain games. College football is not like that. All these games matter. And if you don't show up, your season could be ruined. Like Florida's against LSU last night, or how many times has Ohio State, gone into Purdue or or Iowa or just some team they're supposed to win? They're 30-point favorites, and they just lay a turd, as Jay Tate said about Gus Malzahn at Auburn. It's like you're supposed to win these games and you don't. But that's why I love college football, and that's why it's fun to play too. If you're on a bad team, you like LSU's a bad team this year, but you know what? They had a great night on Saturday, and that'll be something that they can build on.
One thing that got Fat Malzahn fired is one of the many things is he could never develop a big time. He couldn't attract a big time quarterback, and he can't develop them. He can't develop quarterback. I saw Jalen Hurts, who got his first victory in the NFL, by the way. So congratulations, Jalen. But when he was contemplating which school to go to, I said if he wants to play in the NFL, he's not going to. Auburn was one of the names people brought up. I said if he wants to play in the NFL, he's not going to Auburn. Because if you want to play in the NFL, you're not going to Auburn under Gus Malzahn. He can't develop a quarterback, and that's what you need to be able to compete for championship in this day and age. And one problem though Auburn's going to have with trying to attract someone is you got to have a coach willing to come in and know his schedule is going to consist of Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and Texas A&M every single year. That's a tall order to have somebody want to come in on every single year. And by the way, win us a championship. You know how hard that's going to be? You come with a disadvantage already. So
I'm curious.
Good luck, Auburn, with that one.
Yeah. Well, great call, by the way. Anything else before we go to the next caller? And I'm going to comment on something that you just reminded me of. But anything else?
Oh, yeah, real quick. We have to, again, I look for this game to be, Florida will make it interesting. They may even survive, 3/4 Kyle Trask playing out of his mind. But eventually, I'm hoping they don't. But maybe that's the best they can hope for. But I think Alabama will pull away and it'll be 21-point spread. I expect Alabama to cover it, and I'm sure Florida would have wished that the SEC had canceled their last game the way Ohio State got theirs canceled and still go to the playoff championship game. Wouldn't that have been great for them?
Been great,
all right, man. Great talking with you.
Hey, thanks, Robert. We're down here in L.A., Robert and I, Lower Alabama. Want to hear from you guys as we talk Alabama football, 205-850-0883. If you're watching on our Bama Insider YouTube channel, we would love it if you would go ahead and give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. You guys have made this thing really an incredible experience for me personally. And, it's just been so much fun kind of getting to know all of you guys talking Alabama football. And, we got a big game coming up this week. Demetrius is from North Carolina. He's our next caller. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, nothing much. I got to talk fast. I'm out here in Mississippi. I'm on the road, and I'm getting ready to go through the area. I'm going to lose signal.
Okay.
So I just want to call and say that, the dirty play on Smitty, this ain't the first time I've seen Arkansas player do that. Back when Jalen Hurts freshman year, it was one day defensive lineman had held Jalen Hurts down. It just ain't no room for that kind of stuff. You can seriously hurt somebody all because of somebody more talented than you. I mean, I understand under the pile, things can happen, but when you intentionally do stuff, hey, that's real low. And I never did hear the Arkansas coach address that issue, and I don't believe he is. I believe some of these schools encourage that against better talented teams to go out there and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I was pissed off about that. And there were two plays in that game where you're going, okay, this is just downright dirty. And that's the problem with someone like me that says, hey, I want to see all these games played, and I just want to, if you put 10 games on the schedule, you should play 10. And then you see, cheap shots like that, and you're going, man, maybe we shouldn't do it, I don't know, but I'm with you. I thought that was terrible. And it's there should be something done for to someone that would try to do like that gator roll on somebody's ankle, or whatever else. But I agree with you. I didn't like that.
Yeah, and as far as the game,
I think we lost you. You said that.
Go ahead and pull away and.
Yeah, Demetrius, are you still there?
I'm gonna let you go and go get another call. I'm in a bad area.
Okay, well look, thanks for calling, Demetrius. Yeah, roll tide, man. And when you're on the road, it's like he's waiting on hold and just hoping that he could get a chance to talk before we got a bad reception. But a good call from Demetrius. Hey, we appreciate all you guys hanging out with us on a Sunday night. Give us a thumbs up as you watch the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel as well. We're going to talk Alabama and the SEC championship game all week. We got shows coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock. We'll have Monday Night Quarterback. Tony Sukas, our beat writer, will be putting stuff on the BamaInsider.com site all week, getting you ready for not just the game on Saturday, but we got Andrew Bone and National Signing Day coming up. Kyle Henderson will be on tomorrow night, and he's got a bunch of stuff planned for you guys as well. Let's go back to the phone lines again. Who's this and where you come from?
This is James and Roll Tide from the belly of the beast in Auburn, Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Listen, I just want to say I enjoy your show. I do enjoy your channel a lot. I'm fortunate enough to listen to it when I'm at work when I can. Me and one of my coworkers were discussing over the past since really the Georgia game when you're talking about defense. How much has Charlie Strong been that big of an influence with Golden? And do you think that Saban just finally kind of, let the reins off of Strong and say, input your influence? Because he's always been a strong defensive coach wherever he's gone. Yeah,
I don't know the answer. I mean, I would love to say, hey, here's what happened, but I don't know. I mean, they keep a lot of that stuff private. That's an interesting question. And there's a few people that I could ask about that and see if they have a perspective. But something definitely changed. whether it was this team just got more mature and grew up. Maybe the players kind of, figured out what they needed to do and where they needed to be. Maybe Pete got better as a defensive coordinator. Maybe it was Charlie Strong. Maybe he stepped in. But whatever they did since the Ole Miss game to play defense has definitely turned this entire season around. And if it's Charlie Strong at the end of the year, they should make him the defensive coordinator.
That's what me and my buddy have been talking about. That they've been lights out really since, like you said, since the Ole Miss, but really the Georgia game, that second half of that Georgia game, they just went lights out. And I just, I was really, really excited when we got him in as a consultant, because you know how those kind of guys tend to work out really well with Saban, and especially since his resume as a defensive coach from other places that he's been has been really, really strong. Another question real quick. I know you probably got a lot of people lined up. I just wanted to ask you real fast. If it was anybody else other than Alabama, I mean, who else would be screaming Mac Jones, DeVonta Smith, and Najee for the Heisman? Because I don't see those guys getting a whole lot of play. And I know it's kind of a lot of guys don't like Alabama because they always turn out such good ball players, and it's just been such a good program over the last 13 years. But I mean, if it was anybody else, if they played for any other team, they would be leading, by leaps and bounds, in my opinion.
A part of the problem for them is that they've got each other to deal with. Like if I don't feel like there's a true face to this year's team. I feel like there's a lot of guys that are really good, including Mac Jones. And I told you, I mean, like if it was my vote, I would vote for Smitty, and I like Mac Jones and love him, but I just feel like Smitty, you throw him like a 5-yard pass and then he darts into the end zone, like he goes 70 some yards in the blink of an eye. But really, and it's nothing against Najee or Mac or Smitty. It's the offensive line. This offensive line is just next level this year. And the coaches on the other teams have kind of said, hey, look, this offense, look at Gus Malzahn was talking about that. This offensive line, it's kind of taken me a little bit of time to realize how good this O-line is. But after watching them the last couple of weeks, I'm going, okay, yeah, these guys are just like, they're keeping Mac so clean. He's got all day in the pocket. You see him look left, look right, and then he's smart enough too, where he's picking up blitzes and he's going check downs, and then Najee touches the ball. This week they took the deep route away, right? And they challenged Mac to throw underneath and Najee to run on him, and
he read everything.
No, he just trucked them all. He just ran over them. But it was the offensive line that did a great job of helping out. And then if you get the ball to Smitty, I mean, like Smitty just it's amazing how he sees the open field. Every time he's like back there catching punts, I hate it. But then, like his punt return this week was the difference in the game.
Well, I was, how in all the Heisman, contests that they have every year, it's all, as far as the votes and who gets the Heisman moment. I mean, Smitty's Heisman moment came in that LSU game with that one-handed stab. Yeah. I mean, it was just, I haven't seen anything like that. And I mean, I'm a big Niner fan. I can remember Jerry Rice doing that all the time. And that's who I kind of compare with the one-handed snags to, but he was just phenomenal. And his ability, I mean, since we've had him in as a freshman since the 2nd and 26, I know he's been kind of overshadowed with Jerry Jeudy and Ruggs, and
right.
Those guys were just phenomenal. But I mean, Smitty has just carved his own niche out in Alabama history, and it's great to watch, man. I hate that it's this dynasty's going to come to an end sooner or later, but it's just man, this is so fun to watch in my lifetime.
Me too. Look, and you living in Auburn, I mean, it makes going to work a little bit easier, like when.
Oh, we have a good time with it. I'm only one of 3 Alabama fans, one of the guys I work with, and the rest of them are Auburn. So it's kind of, it's kind of funny. You have to kind of be quick-witted and have a comeback each time something happens. And, it's fun to listen to and hear them talk this year, because I know last week, I think, was when they started talking about they were going to look to probably Cam Malzahn, and everybody was like, well, who in the heck are we going to get? I mean, who's out there to get right now? I'm like, nobody wants to come here.
No, well, I'll tell you what, this is the last question I'm going to ask you. Do you think that it could be Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian? I mean, those are the two names that we were like, Oh,
a lot of my buddies that we talk football with are saying Lane Kiffin. A lot of guys, they're saying just because of the what he's done with Ole Miss this year, and Sark, take nothing away from what he's done this year. He's been phenomenal. But I think Kiffin brings that kind of moxie that, you want to have to go up against a guy like Saban, because I think he's going to be the next coach, I hate to say it, to beat Saban. I mean, out of all he's done at Ole Miss, he did phenomenal this year with the kind of talent he's had. And he took us to the brink, literally, with the exception. If they would not have botched that snap, it would have been one of those who had the ball last once.
Yep. No, I agree. I mean, it's really interesting, We'll see what happens, but
well, hey, great channel. I just want to say great channel. I enjoy listening to you. Keep it up. And again, roll tide, and I'll be listening from you from the belly of the beast.
Hey, thanks, James. Yeah, hang in there. It's going to be a really fun couple weeks here, seeing what happens with Auburn hiring. And look, it might even take weeks. I mean, it may be, something that happens here in a relatively short amount of time. But let's go back to the phone lines again. And it's been a lot of fun talking to all you guys tonight. I'm Mick Gillespie. This is Bama Insider and our YouTube channel. We appreciate all you guys for being with us. Look, we got 400 people that are watching right now. Give us 400 thumbs up. Whether you're an Alabama fan, you're a Florida fan, you're a college football fan, we just appreciate the fact that you're here. We're going to rip it up a little bit on the comment line. We're going to take calls and do all that stuff and talk about whatever's going on right now. So it could be Alabama and Florida. Could be the fact that we got the SEC championship game. Could be Auburn needing a new head coach. So let's go back to the phone lines again. Who's this and where you calling from?
Hey, man, what's happening?
What's up?
It's Uncle Charles. It's Uncle Charles from Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, baby. Let me just say this, man. Nick Saban got this team rolling right now, and Florida is just a hot mess. The coach at Florida needs to be really fired, because no matter who you play, you cannot take anyone for granted. And that's all he did, is take LSU for granted. Florida remind me of an 89-year-old man and running with the Bulls. Now, he knew he was old. He had no business out there. But somebody said, yeah, you can do it. And he went on out there and got knocked up in the air, and he came down, he was discombobulated, and by the time he got up, he was trying to put his flip-flop back on. Look, man, you don't need to do that. You need to get out from out there with them Bulls. And that's what Florida did. They took LSU for granted. Now, I need not to tell Florida, you know what's going to happen to you. So come on, get some. And when it's over with, we'll hug you. We'll hug you and say, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'd like to thank you, brother, for letting me call in.
Hey, great call. You're right. Look, I mean, like, the thing about it is, like, Alabama's going to win the football game, and then they're going to be really jovial about it. Hey, thanks for playing us today. We appreciate it. That was a fun game to watch. Like good to see you.
Yes, sir.
But the thing that Nick Saban, like last week, they beat LSU. He's walking off. The sideline person again, for whoever it was, ESPN or SEC Network, they're like, hey, congratulations on LSU. Signed up with LSU. He's like, well, you know what? We got Arkansas next week. And he never lets these guys overlook next week's game.
That's right. But that's what he did. LSU is still playing hard. But you can see what Alabama did. We're not playing with you. And we went out there and took care of business. I hope Florida take a page from our book, because, right now, I know they're feeling kind of down right now. They said, well, we got to come back, and take care of Alabama. Well, it's a little too late. You took something out the game, something juicy out the apple. You did that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll grade you with that monster we got down there, running back. He's not playing. He's stepping on people's heads, their arms, legs. He don't even care. God bless him, because he's going first round. I want to tell Florida, thank you for this win that's coming up. Thank you for this win. And I want to tell Nick Saban, you take care of yourself, coach. Keep your mask on. And I love you, bro. All right, man. Talk to you later.
Hey, thank you. Uncle jumping in. Roll Tide, man. Great call. Great call. Look, I agree. I mean, like, when you overlook the competition in this all SEC schedule, you can get beat. Had Florida taken LSU seriously, they would have beat them probably by 5 touchdowns, but they did, and it cost them. Let's go back to the phone lines again, and we appreciate all you guys calling us on a Sunday night as we talk college football. This is Cam from Brunswick. Roll Tide, how you doing?
Good, Mick. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there. I mean, like I'm just like, taking everything in. Like I feel good about life, Cam, and then all of a sudden I hear Lane Kiffin or Steve Sarkisian to Auburn, and I'm like, okay, man, you're gonna ruin my Sunday.
Hey, listen, man. I think right now at this point, Auburn will take whatever they can get, man. They really don't care, man. So that's how I feel about Auburn right now.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll, I don't know. I guess Auburn's got to find the right fit. They've got to have someone that can recruit. They got to have someone that.
Listen, man. Auburn, they did accomplish one thing, man. They're going to a bowl game. Do you know what bowl game they're going to? It's called the Toilet Bowl, man. It's called round and round and round. Okay, they're going down the hole, roll that roll. Okay, that's what Auburn's doing. But anyways, man, listen, called you a couple weeks ago, and listen, man, Nick Saban, he takes these games one game at a time. Like I said, man, every Saturday, it's a one-game season. So, no disrespect to the other college football coaches out there in the college football world, Nick Saban is coming prepared. And he's got a game plan, and he's coming to dominate. And that's what he did against Arkansas. They called Arkansas a trap game. I don't think it was a trap game. I really don't. Because I know Nick Saban, I know that Alabama football team, when they step on the field Saturday, they come to play football. They didn't come out there to play soccer,
right,
or tennis, or baseball. They come out there to kick your tail, man, and that's what I like to see. And I don't think it's going to be no different during the SEC championship when we play Florida. I really have no respect for the Florida Gators at all. And I'll tell you why. A football coach that puts on a Halloween outfit as Darth Vader after beating Missouri. They've only been in our conference 4 years, man. Come on. They're horrible. You're going to put on a Darth Vader outfit? Get out of here, man.
Very clownish, you feel like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I have no respect for a team like, or for a coach like that. And, I thought Dan Mullen had a little bit more respect, but I really have no respect for Dan Mullen after I've seen that. I've never seen any coach do that in history that I've been watching college football. But, listen, the Heisman Trophy conversation, man, DeVonta Smith, this is what he said. He said, I didn't come to Alabama to win a Heisman Trophy. I come to win a national championship. And, Mick, you graduated from Alabama, been an Alabama fan for a long time, I'm assuming. Listen, we know that Alabama wins national championships. It's very rare that we have a Heisman Trophy winner. Matter of fact, before Nick Saban got there, we didn't have not one Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
Great players that probably should have won it. Sean Alexander. You can go down the line, man. Great players. Joe Namath.
Think of Joe Namath and Snake Stabler and Johnny Musso. I mean, you go through all those guys.
You're talking about Hall of
Famers
in the NFL, man, and didn't win the Heisman Trophy.
Yep.
So if Alabama has a player that's in the Heisman Trophy conversation, let me tell you something, man. You better watch out because that team is probably going to beat the dog snot out of you. Because that team that has that Alabama team that has a Heisman Trophy contender, man, that team's loaded. I'm telling you, man. That team Alabama's got right now, they are loaded. There is not a player on that team that won't play in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's starting on the field right now. Every player that's starting on the field right now will have their day and opportunity to play in the NFL.
Well, I know the offensive line. I mean, you go through this, the offensive line's all going to get there if they stay healthy. Mac Jones is going to be drafted in the first round. He's going to get there. Najee Harris is going to be drafted first, second round. He's going to get there. The DeVonta is going to get there. He's going to be drafted in the first round. So, I mean, you're talking about like right there. I just named like 8 guys, 9 guys in the snap of a finger that I think are all going to be in the NFL. And if you look right now, there's more Alabama players in the NFL than any other team.
Yeah, man. What we're witnessing here, man, is history. I mean, it's history being made. This is probably, with a 10-game SEC schedule, this is probably the greatest Alabama team to come through there and do that. I mean, it's first of all, it's the first time in the history of college football that a team has played a 10-game conference schedule undefeated and went undefeated. That's never been done.
Yeah.
I mean, it is crazy that we're even discussing this. Let me tell you something, man. This Alabama football team, they're not slowing down this coming Saturday. Florida's done with, man. You can write them off, man. They're done with. They come into the Baton Rouge and play some sloppy football. Let me tell you something, man. That tells you they're not ready.
Well,
here we are at the end of the season.
Yeah.
They're not ready, man.
No.
They're not ready.
Not when you got guys throwing shoes, you like, what a childish move. I mean, it's just childish. Like,
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. The players on the field, they represent the head coach of that football team. If you ever see Nick Saban get mad and upset, let me tell you something. They're representing Nick Saban, okay? That football player that threw that tennis shoe, who does he represent? He represents Dan Mullen and the University of Florida. He ought to be ashamed of himself.
Yeah. Yep. Cam, you nailed it, man. And I mean, like, I think Florida's going to be extra motivated. I think they're going to be extra hungry this week because, they basically gave one away. But I also feel like if Alabama strikes early on them, like this team has been known to do, I could see things not going their way. I could see the frustration of just everything that's happened to them really catch up with them. I got a feeling that Florida is going to come into this game and that they're going to play Alabama tough. But if Alabama jumps on them early, I think that it could be a really long day for Florida.
Hey, listen, man, this Alabama offensive line, Nick Saban even said it. You put a heavyweight against a lightweight, eventually the lightweight's going to give up.
Yeah.
The Alabama offensive line, that's like George Foreman. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's like a line full of George Foreman going against defensive like Conor McGregor. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the heavyweight is just going to outweigh the lightweight over time. And you see it. We've seen it all year. They wear down opposing defenses that think they can take down Alabama. And Alabama just runs the football, and they get tired. They get wore out by the second quarter. They're giving up points, and there's nothing they can do about it because they're so tired and worn out from them big old uglies up front, man.
Best one we've had.
Hey,
Did you hear me say that earlier, Cam? This is the best offensive line that we've had.
Ever.
I mean, you go back as far as Alabama's been playing football. I want somebody to tell me the offensive line that's better. Now, there may be some that you can say, hey, look, these guys were as good. I don't know that these guys that the way that they've played this year, the way that they dominate with the run and the pass protection. I mean, they're so smart. They're nimble. You like you said, they're big. They're strong. That Max just back there, I mean, he's got all day to throw. Those play action fakes. I mean, like watching the Dallas Cowboys back when Troy Aikman was the quarterback in the early 90s, really the mid 90s when they were winning all those Super Bowls. They had that big offensive line. And then, you had to watch for Emmitt Smith running the ball and Moose Johnston. And then you had, all the receivers, the Michael Irvings and the Alvin Harpers and those guys out on the wide. And the Alabama's got the same thing going. And and look, they're both dynasties. That's the last, that's an NFL dynasty right there, different than the Patriots because it was the same group. It wasn't just like the quarterback. Yeah. And, but the way that these guys play football just reminds me of those old Cowboy teams.
Yeah, this Alabama team's big, strong, and fast. And, Nick Saban realized that football was changing and it was a scoreboard. You had to score a lot of points. Well, you know what? He said, I'm going to do it better than anybody else in college football. I'll just change what I have to do, and I'll score more points. I'll beat you that way.
Yep.
And that's what we're seeing Nick Saban do.
Mm-hmm.
He's evolved, and he still has a great athlete. So you know what? Let me tell you the something similar to Bear Bryant and Nick Saban, Nick, is that they're really good at getting players to play better than they really are. Nick and Bear Bryant done it with players that wasn't as good. He took average players. He made them play to a way higher level than what they really were. But Nick Saban has the greatest players. He actually makes them play better than what they really are. And that's what, I think a lot of people don't see that. But he's such a great coach, and he's going down as the greatest football coach in the history. I love Bear Bryant, born and bred Alabama, but listen, man, this Alabama football team this year, I don't think there's a team in history of college football that stacks up against them. I don't care if you take the Miami teams, the old Alabama teams. When it comes to scoring points, running the football, there ain't a better team that's ever done it.
Yeah. Well, Cam, I appreciate your call, man. Anything else?
No, that's it, man. Roll Tide, brother.
Roll Tide, Cam. Appreciate you. Yeah, look, I agree. I think that, one of the points is that, Bear Bryant would take guys and make them better. And, Nick Saban kind of does his thing. I think what the difference is that this era of football, Nick Saban takes guys and convinces them that the team is more important than themselves. And I think that's what separates Alabama and Nick Saban is that he's able to convince guys that being a team player is more important than being selfish. And it's hard to do that with this day and age of players. Before we go back to the line, I want to thank Tobias. A good show, praying for a COVID-free and injury-free week. Hey, I'm with you right there. I think the boys are going to be focused. He's praying for that. He wants to see them play a clean and dominant game. He says Clemson beating North Carolina, Ohio State winning, Bama versus North Carolina versus Notre Dame, Clemson versus Ohio, and then we'll have the matchup that I think we're going to have, and that's Alabama against I think we're going to see Alabama against Clemson again. I don't know why. Also, another great super chat. Appreciate it right here. Florida or any team from the SEC East cannot overlook any team from the West. You are exactly right. Rammer Jammer, Roll Tide. I'm with you, man. And you're exactly right. I mean, and I don't think it's just from the West. I think that's what makes this all SEC schedule so tough is that you cannot look over anyone. Just like Nick Saban said going into Arkansas, you let these teams get into a battle. They got players. Anything can happen. And that you don't want to do that. So appreciate all you guys that are watching. Give us a thumbs up on our YouTube channel right here, the Bama Insider YouTube channel. Subscribe to our channel as well. We're going to do a couple more calls before we get off here tonight. And let's go back to the phone line. Who's this and where you come from?
This is Tony from Birmingham.
What's up, Tony?
Hey, man. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Now, let me ask you a question. If, let's just say Clemson does beat Notre Dame and it's a close game, and let's pretend that a playmaker from Notre Dame isn't available, not the quarterback, say the running back or defensive end or whatever. Are they getting in?
I mean, what do you think?
Yes, I do think they'll get in. And I don't know if it's because of the lack of teams that there is to choose from, especially, more of a broader sense, conference-wise. If you take, at that point, I guess it would be, they would just flip-flop. You would have Notre Dame 3, Clemson 2, Bama 1. But the fourth spot, I think it's like some of your previous callers have said, and I think you said it too, right, wrong, or indifferent. They are pushing for Ohio State to be in this playoff.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind Ohio State makes it in. And I'm telling you, if the shoe were on the other foot and this was an SEC team, this would not be happening. I do not believe that whatsoever. I mean, how many years have we heard Heather Dennett say Alabama just hadn't played anyone, they hadn't beat anybody, they don't deserve to be in, even if we're undefeated or we lose a 1-point game to maybe a number 3 or 4 Georgia at the time.
Right.
We didn't deserve to get in. But now that it's a northern school, basically, it's different. And I hate this. I mean, like you were saying too, the more you play, just like a championship fighter, a heavyweight, the more you fight, the more chance you have to lose.
That's right.
And the more you play, the more chance there is for you to lose. And quite frankly, there's not playing. I don't think they've earned that. Personally, I do not think they've earned it. But at that time, I guess the 4th spot, if it's not Ohio State, would have to go A&M, correct?
And that's who I think if A&M wins again, and I really wish they would have played Ole Miss. That would have been a good game to watch. I think that it should be them. I mean, like really, like they're the teams that they're the team that's played the schedule. You know, they lost to Alabama. They've beaten everyone else. They beat Florida. And Ohio State doesn't have a win comparable to Florida on their docket. They've beat a bunch of teams with losing records. You know, Indiana's their signature win this year. You know, like I get it. Like they have the 5-star players and, you know, like the hype that goes behind them. And they may be good. I just don't know. I haven't seen enough of them. But I have seen Texas A&M. And good, bad, or indifferent, Texas A&M has lost one game to Alabama, and they've found ways to win. It hasn't been pretty, but the record to me puts them right there in the picture. And I think that if there's a slot, I you know what, Jimbo Fisher probably deserves to get that team in there.
I agree, and you know, everybody says, well, you know, the SEC is down. Well, I disagree with that. I think the SEC is what it is, but daggum, we're playing each other every week.
Look, the SEC is not. Let me say this: the SEC is not down. That's bull crap. Look, the SEC, and for anyone that says that, that's just absolute just garbage. The ACC's down. There's no good teams in that conference besides Clemson and Notre Dame, right? And they're not even really in that conference. The Big Ten is the worst. This is the worst I've ever seen the Big Ten in my entire life, ever. They're terrible. The SEC's problem is that, you know, you got to play an SEC team every week now. You know, you're playing like what's been like an NFL schedule. So I'm adamant about the fact that Alabama and if Texas A&M gets in, those teams are going to be tested going into this college football playoff. There's no Boston colleges and Syracuse's and Rutgers and, you know, and those type of schools on the schedule. I mean, you can go through and you look like it would have been nice to have some of those teams on the schedule. Alabama's bludgeoning teams that if you put Arkansas in that ACC, they'd have a winning record. You know, and look at what happened. If you put LSU in the Big Ten, those teams they're probably playing in the championship game against Ohio State, and they're barely, you know, they've gotten destroyed in a couple of games this year. But these are good teams. You know, Auburn was 6-4. They fired their coach. You put them in that league, and all of a sudden, you know, Auburn's lost maybe a game. The SEC this year has really, really good teams in it. I think the middle of the pack is good.
No, I totally agree with you. And you know, again, it's just it's amazing when you listen to some of the national people who claim to know a lot about the sport. They just it's amazing that they're not giving credit to where credit's due, and it starts right there with A&M, like we were discussing. Let me ask you another question, bring up a different topic here about Auburn. Wouldn't you think that they kind of know who their person is, seeing how National Signing Day is Wednesday?
You know what? You think that? Gosh, that is a great topic to talk about, because when I was doing and all of you guys that are watching right now, please check out our podcast. That's kind of one of my areas here that I'm trying to add to. And I get together with Coach Max Howe, who did SEC radio for years.
Y'all's podcast is excellent.
Thank you, man. Yeah, we're just a couple of guys that like to talk college football, and we do it on Sunday. And Max and I were talking about just, you know, he was the one that told me that, you know, Sarkisian was a name that he was expecting to pop up down at Auburn, and it did. And then I'm thinking, like, if you're Auburn, I mean, is now the time that you fire your coach the week of signing day? And if you're Alabama, how do you take advantage of this? Because there's some battles, not that Auburn was beating Alabama for players, but there was a handful, you know, I think there were 2 or 3 guys who were on Alabama's list that they would have liked to have had that were going to go to Auburn. It would be nice to go down there and pickpocket a couple of those recruits if there's room for them. And I think other schools are probably going to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, and that was my whole thought. Honestly, with LSU getting the surprise win at Florida, I do wonder if that may have swayed. 'Cause, I mean, y'all think about this, man. They were looking literally the bottom of the barrel with the whole Title IX stuff going on, the NCAA, the fact they were basically guaranteed a losing season if they lose this game.
Right.
I figured Alabama would go in there and sweep some of their players away. With that big win at Florida, I wonder if that changes anything. And now with the thing with Auburn, if that was to be compounded, I do think it would have. But I do not listen. Of all the coaches we listed, Sarkisian is the one that I would really not want to see there. And what kills me is that this is the stuff that doesn't make sense to me. A lot of Auburn's, especially a lot of their fans, their fan base in general, everything they do is based on, can they do this to beat Alabama? Can we beat Alabama doing this? Well, I heard a caller this morning or this afternoon after the decision was made. He said, well, I think we ought to go after Lane Kiffin because he's shown that he could beat Alabama. Well, no, he didn't beat Alabama. I mean, you look at the game in 2009. Mark Ingram never fumbles the ball, and he fumbled the ball in trash time when we were up. I think the score, maybe help me out here, was it not 13-4, 13-2, 13-3, something like that?
Yeah,
I can't
something
recall,
like that.
12-3. And there's just even when Hugh Freeze beat us, I think we had a combined 10 turnovers in 2 games.
Yeah.
So you can talk about Hugh Freeze. A lot of this stuff that happens is self-inflicted wounds on Alabama normally when they lose a game. And you're right. Stephen Garcia has a game of his life, et cetera, et cetera. Of course, we helped him out in the game as well.
Yeah.
But Auburn is never going to be, and I hate to be, this is not being arrogant. This is not being, brash or anything like that. I've been coaching football my entire adult life. Auburn will never be what Alabama is. They never have been. They never will be. Matter of fact, there's not a team in the SEC that's ever going to do or be what Alabama is. Not a lot of teams in the country is going to do what we've done. It's the only team in my lifetime I've seen do what Alabama has done. So until they quit pretending that they can be Alabama, they can be as good as Alabama, they're not going to move. In my opinion, they're not going to move forward. If you want to hire a coach that can beat Alabama once every 3 or 4 years, great. You just fired the one that did.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that you're just not going to. You're not going to be Alabama. So my thinking is they don't need to worry about hiring a coach that can, beat Alabama. They need to worry about the other 11 or 12 games.
Yeah.
And when I was a child growing up, I can remember, case in point, 2017. Well, hey, we beat Alabama, blah blah blah. They had 4 losses. We win the title. You can hear me complaining about losing to Auburn, and that's kind of the way it goes. And I just, we lived it. When Coach Stallings was here, he left, and it was a plethora of just coach after coach after coach.
No, it was terrible.
Me going to coaching clinics and talking to some of these guys, and to find out that a lot of these coaches were not able to hire who they wanted. That was assigned to them by the board of directors, and to me, that changed when Saban got here. And until they allow some of these other coaches to do that, such as an Auburn coach, it's not going to change.
Yeah.
Hey, if you do what you've done, you get what you got.
Well, look, here's the truth is that these athletic departments are full of people that don't know what they're doing. But when you have a great coach like Nick Saban, he brings in all the money and he's got enough power to tell them to, keep quiet and go back to doing what they're supposed to be doing. Things work. The minute that he's out of there and it's somebody else that doesn't have the power, you're running into the same thing that when Gene Stallings left. They don't want to pay for this person. They don't want to do that. You're listening to your gymnastics coach who's got problems, and they want to use the football facility, and this coach wants this, and this coach. It's like all these sports that don't matter, that don't make any money. They all of a sudden start piping up. Nick Saban came in. He took care of that problem. He took care of a lot of these boosters that think that they're like running an NFL team that need to butt out. Guys who, maybe their dad was a famous football coach and they got money. Look, the bottom line is this: is that it's this guy right here that makes all of us proud to be Alabama fans and alumni because he wins football games and he does all this other stuff. That. And what I mean by it, let me kind of go back to this. I'm not saying gymnastics don't matter. I like gymnastics. Look, I like college baseball a lot. But what I'm saying is that it doesn't matter to the bottom line. The bottom line is how much money you're bringing into the program to be able to fund all of these other things. Mm-hmm. And so, hey, look, I love it when gymnastics wins championships. I loved it when baseball used to get to the World Series. I was in school. It was great. I love it when softball gets to the World Series and they win. But at the end of the day, it's football that drives the train. It's the engine. And there's a lot of factors and pulling that goes back and forth that Nick Saban's been able to handle. I mean, bottom line, and I've been around this school for a long, long time. And the thing to me that this guy's been able to do is when you get these athletic directors like Bill Battle. I wasn't a fan of Bill Battle as an athletic director. I'm sure he's a good guy, terrible athletic director. Nick Saban can do what he has to do to make sure that the program's taken care of and that things go the way he wants them to go. And the minute that you get these coaches that don't have success, that pool starts coming in from all these different directions. And you have a situation like we had with Alabama football after Gene Stallings. And it was terrible.
Awful. That's exactly right. And the thing that I knew, I said the same thing when we were talking about, the rumor was out there hiring Saban. I said, look, I used to tell the people I coached with, and if they hire Saban, they will have awakened a sleeping giant. And that is exactly what they did.
Yep.
Because I knew it was, hey, one man, one voice, his program. If you don't like it, pound the pavement.
That's right.
It's that simple.
I love it too.
Well, one other point I'll make, just another question for you. Moving forward, do you see Sarkisian taking that job? I mean, do you not think that he could get better? Does he think he'd get better? What would that do between Saban and he as well?
I don't like it
right now.
Yeah, look, I don't like that. I don't want to see him go down there. And it's not that I'm worried that, I don't want another situation like we had with Lane Kiffin where he goes and gets this other job and then they're not coaching our guys for this national championship. I want to see this team win a championship, and I don't want the distraction of, the offensive coordinator is the coach at Auburn. I don't like the optics of that. It's a bad look. Selfishly, I just don't want that to happen. I think Lane Kiffin could be a real factor in the SEC at Auburn if Lane Kiffin can stay out of his own way. But I think as far as being a transcending offensive coach, I was debating somebody the other day who's the best Alabama offensive coordinator, Sark or Lane Kiffin. I think Lane Kiffin is. But Lane Kiffin runs into all the other problems that have nothing to do with football. And maybe he's, he's kind of gotten past that and grown up down at Ole Miss because he's had a great year. He's had a really good year. But I don't know. I don't want Sark to be focused on going anywhere besides winning games for Alabama.
Right. Well, I'll end by saying this. Number one, the offensive line is the best, I think, in my lifetime. I was born in 1977, so I do think it's the best in my lifetime. You've got so many great players at the same time that are dominant. I mean, how many games, Nick, have we seen? Not only has he not gotten sacked, he's not really gotten rushed, or his uniform is perfectly clean. I mean, that right there tells you what you need to know. And everybody knows a football team is built from within. That's the nucleus. The offensive line's the nucleus. The defensive line, same thing. And also, I think Sarkisian's better. Me personally, I think what Lane Kiffin was brilliant at was making mismatches. He was great at basically throwing mismatches out there. But when I see this team playing the way they are now, I don't think I've seen it better.
No.
I don't think I've seen a better offense in Alabama history.
Yeah. Well, Roll Tide, thanks for the call.
Roll Tide, hey, thank you, man. Great show.
Thank you. Keep watching, and we appreciate it. Look, guys, I got to start wrapping this up here. Been on for almost 2 hours. I appreciate all you guys. I'm gonna get one more call, and I can't tell you how much it means to me to hang out with you guys on a Sunday night, talk college football. Thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. You got Monday Night Quarterback tomorrow night with Kyle Henderson and Tony Tsoukalis and Trey Yanity and myself. Tuesday, Andrew Bone's going to pop on and kind of give us that last little tidbit of recruiting before National Signing Day. And then Wednesday, we got a National Signing Day extravaganza that's going to knock your socks off. So just get ready for that. It's going to be quite an event. So we appreciate all you guys for being here and being a part of it. All right, let me get one more call in. Roll Tide, where you calling from?
Hey, Roll Tide, Mick. This is Tim from Birmingham.
What's up, Tim? You got the guitar with you tonight?
I do, man. I'm going to play a song. But first, I want to talk. I'm going to give my case for Mac Jones. Unbelievable offensive line. They always, but Landon Dickinson's just tearing it up. But Mac finds the open guys, which he has time to, and his long ball is so accurate. I mean, you can have all day, but if you can't hit the guy in the numbers, you're not the star. I mean, to me, it's like chicken and the egg with he and DeVonta. What do you think?
Look, I feel like the offensive line should win the Heisman. I mean, really, I would vote for Smitty, but I've fallen in love with those big nasties, like the way that they've just been like taking care of business.
Yeah,
I'm not going to be hurt if Mac wins or if Smitty wins. I just hope that one of those guys wins the award because it's a team award, even though it's an individual award. And it would really, I remember talking to Mike Johnson, who was on the 09 national championship team. And he was so proud that Mark Ingram won that the Heisman because he and the offensive line, they were a part of that, and he doesn't have a Heisman trophy in his house, but you know what? He earned that just as much as Mark Ingram did. And I bet you if you asked Mark Ingram, he'd probably agree.
Yeah, right on. Well, this is a great team because they are so unselfish enough. I've met Mac and talked to him just for a bit, and the guy's he's golden. So moving on, instead of Sark or Lane Kiffin, how about Hugh Freeze? Is that a possibility for Auburn?
Yeah. Well, I mean, initially I thought like it'd probably be Hugh Freeze. And, the problem that they're going to have is with Hugh Freeze's issues with, the SEC and some of the other stuff that happened when he was at Ole Miss. And I'm not even judging him. I don't know what happens and doesn't happen in recruiting. It's not what I do. But he obviously got in a lot of trouble. And because of that, he didn't, it's definitely up in the air for him. I'll put it like that. But I think he would do a good job. I mean, I think he's a really good coach. Honestly, I think all those guys are. I even think Gus Malzahn's a good coach, and if I was Tennessee and I could slide him in there and let Auburn pay for it, why not?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, look, man, I'll wrap it up. So this one's for Dan Mullins, and this takes from a song back in the beach music days. So you being down there in Fairhope with Yacht Rock. So this is a 1960 song, but this is a song we'll call Shoe Launcher. He didn't take that shoe and throw it. He launched it. Okay?
Yeah.
So you ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I'm a shoe launcher. I'm a shoe launcher. Watch the shoes go by. My. I'm a shoe launcher. I'm a shoe launcher. Here comes one now. Watch out, number 3. Here it comes.
All right, Tim from Birmingham. Thank you, my friend.
Roll Tide, brother.
Roll Tide. All right, well, Tim hitting us up with a song. All right, I'm going to do one more call, and then that's it for the night. You're on Bama Insider. How's it going? Where are you calling from?
This is William. I'm calling from Birmingham.
Well, every team does, right?
And it had been very prevalent lately. It's just been a few times, but I'm just looking back at Louisiana Monroe in 2008. That's Bama. That's or 2007. That's Nick Saban's first year. So I love Bama. and I always want to be as high as possible with everything going on. But always remember, there is that very low.
Yeah. And look, the other team can beat you if you don't go out there and do the things that you got to do. And Nick Saban has constantly talked about that. And I agree. Look, Florida has the players that can challenge Alabama. And obviously Florida looked past LSU getting ready for Alabama, and it cost them. I mean, at least it seems that way. But you're right. I mean, if you're Alabama, you got to be focused. And look, but this is a championship game too. And you win this, you get a ring.
And how fired up do you think they're going to be going into that game?
Yeah,
after losing one.
Yeah. Well, this is just like LSU last week. This is an opportunity for them to save their season. After the shoe toss. So yeah, you're right.
Like I said, I love my team and I love where we've been, but you always have to remember the lows.
Yeah.
To appreciate the highs.
Awesome, man. Well, anything else? You're the last call of the night before I kind of wrap things up.
No, that's it. I just wanted to remind the people on here is like, I know we're riding a high for about 11 years now and just remember where we were when they were low to be appreciated.
Yeah.
Of it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Well, thanks. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, brother.
And I think that's the key about any sports is that you always have to remember that, hey, look, you could lose, and if you're not prepared. But I feel like in championship games, it's a lot easier to get everyone's attention because you have a chance to win a championship. You get a chance to win a ring, and that's what Alabama will be playing for on Saturday. I appreciate all you guys that called into the show. Didn't talk much Alabama and Arkansas, but a perfect 10-0 regular season. Here on Bama Insider, we got a huge week for you. We got signing day on Wednesday. Obviously, we got the game on Saturday that we'll be previewing. So two really big things that we'll be focused on this week. And now the firing of Gus Malzahn and the new coach that Auburn will be having that directly affects Alabama. This is going to be really, really interesting to kind of see how that pans out as well. Hey, whether you're an Alabama fan, a college football fan, for whatever reason you joined us tonight, we appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Bama Insider channel. We love all you guys. Thank you for being part of our family, as Kyle Henderson would say. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, we will have the Monday Night Quarterback Show. Kyle Henderson, Tony Tsoukalas, Trey Yannity, and me will be chopping it up, talking about everything going on in college football. Wednesday, we have the National Signing Day show. We'll be on there as Alabama starts getting these commitment letters signed, and we know exactly what the class looks like with the coaching change down at Auburn, everything going on around the conference, including things down at LSU. Could be a really interesting Wednesday. So make sure you check here for all the latest on that. And then every Friday night when we got a game, I always invite you guys to check out the Bama Insider Tailgate Show. That's from 6 to 8 Central Time. We're going to be doing that from Old Forge Moonshine Distillery in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee this week. So that'll be on Friday night. So anyway, thanks all you guys for watching. Again, thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll do it again real soon. Roll Tide, everybody. Thanks.